If you have an idea that you genuinely think is good, don't let some idiot talk you out of it.
Welcome to this deep dive into the incredible world of Spider-Man. From the moment he swung onto the comic book pages to becoming a global pop culture icon, Spider-Man has captured the hearts of fans worldwide. We'll explore his creation, commercial success, and delve into his character biography, personality, and themes. We'll swing through the cityscape of Spider-Man's powers, skills, and gadgets, and face off against his memorable enemies. Love is in the air, too, as we take a peek into his romantic interests. But Spider-Man's legacy goes beyond comics, influencing culture worldwide. We'll also touch on alternate versions, his children, and examine his impact in real life. Join me as we unravel the web of Spider-Man's history, exploring his reception and enduring legacy. Let's dive into the spectacular world of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. In the early 60s, Marvel Comics was riding high on the success of the Fantastic Four, and Stan Lee, the editor and head writer, was on the lookout for the next big superhero idea. Inspired by the growing interest of teenagers in comic books, he wanted to create a character that resonated with them. This led to the birth of Spider-Man. Stan Lee, having found success with the Fantastic Four, saw Spider-Man as an opportunity to inject something he felt was missing in the comic book world. The idea for Spider-Man was sparked not only by a surge in teenage readership, but also by Lee's admiration for a non-superhuman pulp magazine crime fighter known as the Spider. In his autobiography, Stan Lee mentions being inspired by seeing a spider climb up a wall, though he humorously admits he's recounted the story so many times that he's unsure if it's entirely true. The Spider from the pulp magazines served as a significant influence, being pursued by both law enforcement and the criminal underworld, a theme that became integral to Spider-Man's early stories. Lee also took inspiration from the Spider's developed sixth sense, which warned him of impending danger. This idea evolved into Spider-Man's iconic Spider Sense. Despite the convention of naming teenage superheroes with a boy suffix, Lee opted for Spider-Man to allow the character to age over time. He dismissed the name Spider-Boy, as he believed it would make the character seem inferior to other superheroes. To distinguish Spider-Man from other superheroes, particularly Superman, Lee inserted a hyphen in the name. Artist Steve Ditko initially envisioned Spider-Man in an orange and purple costume, but the character ultimately donned the iconic red and blue outfit. Securing Marvel publisher Martin Goodman's approval was crucial, and Lee vividly recounted the arguments he presented to overcome Goodman's objections in a 1986 interview. Ultimately, Goodman agreed to give Spider-Man a tryout in what would be the supposed final issue of Amazing Fantasy. The series, initially called Amazing Adult Fantasy, was renamed for its last issue, published in August 1962. While it was initially planned as the last issue, the editorial page of Amazing Fantasy number 15 hinted at the character's continuation, stating that the Spider-Man would appear every month in Amazing. And thus, Spider-Man swung into the Marvel Universe, capturing the hearts of readers and becoming one of the most beloved superheroes of all time. So after getting the green light from Marvel publisher Martin Goodman, Stan Lee was all in for Spider-Man. He liked the idea of an ordinary teen superhero and decided to team up with artist Jack Kirby. Kirby had this old character collaboration with Joe Simon from the 50s, a kid finding a magic ring that bestowed superpowers. That sparked their creative juices. In a story conference, Lee and Kirby hashed out the details. Kirby had drawn 6 pages based on the old character, but Lee wasn't thrilled. It was too heroic, not the vibe he wanted. Enter Steve Ditko, who came on board as the inker. Lee turned to him for a different artistic approach. Ditko dove into designing Spider-Man's iconic costume, considering the practical aspects: clinging power instead of hard shoes, a wrist shooter instead of a web gun. The decision to cover the character's face was deliberate, not only to add mystery, but also because Spider-Man had a boyish face. As Ditko put it, "I wasn't sure Stan would like the idea, but I did it." Although Ditko handled the interior artwork solo, Lee wasn't sold on his cover art. So he went back to Kirby for the cover, and Ditko added the inking touch. Lee, always confident in Kirby's covers, wanted that extra visual appeal. In the end, this collaboration laid the foundation for Spider-Man, combining Lee's vision, Kirby's art, and Ditko's attention to detail. The result? A web-slinging superhero who would soon swing into the hearts of fans everywhere. As the story goes, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee were the dynamic duo behind Spider-Man's creation. In a mail interview back in the day, Ditko shared their respective contributions. Lee was the mastermind behind the name, while Ditko took charge of the costume, the wrist gadget for shooting webs, and the iconic spider signal. During that creative period, Ditko shared a studio with Eric Stanton, a noted fetish artist. Stanton remembered their collaboration on Spider-Man, emphasizing that while his input was minimal, they worked on storyboards together, and he tossed in a few ideas. However, he made it clear that Spider-Man was essentially Steve Ditko's brainchild. According to Stanton, he might have thrown in the concept of webs coming out of Spider-Man's hands. In a rare interview with Jonathan Ross, Ditko spilled the beans about the early vision for Spider-Man's costume. Surprisingly, it was initially imagined with an orange and purple color scheme, quite different from the red and blue we all recognize today. The creative journey of Spider-Man had its twists and turns, and Ditko played a pivotal role in shaping the iconic superhero we know and love. The creation story of Spider-Man took an interesting turn when Jack Kirby contested Stan Lee's narrative, suggesting that Lee's role in the character's inception was minimal. According to Kirby, the roots of Spider-Man trace back to him and Joe Simon in the 1950s. They had crafted a character named the Silver Spider for a comic called Black Magic under Crestwood Publications, though the character ended up unused. Simon, in his 1990 autobiography, also challenged Lee's version of events, adding another layer of complexity to the Spider-Man origin saga. The differing perspectives among the creative minds behind Spider-Man only added to the intrigue of the web-slinger's backstory. In the ongoing tale of Spider-Man's origins, Jack Kirby had a different take, disputing the involvement of black magic in the character's creation. According to Kirby, Joe Simon was the one who came up with the name Spider-Man, later changed to the Silver Spider, while Kirby crafted the character's story and powers. Simon further explained that the concept he and Kirby developed for the character eventually served as the foundation for Simon's superhero, The Fly, at Archie Comics. Adding another twist to the narrative, artist Steve Ditko chimed in, mentioning that Stan Lee's interest in the name Hawkman from DC Comics played a role in the birth of Spider-Man. It's fascinating how different creative minds contributed to shaping the iconic character, each offering their unique touch to Spider-Man's story. Simon and Kirby's version of events align, with Simon confirming that Kirby had indeed presented the original Spider-Man concept to Stan Lee. Lee liked the idea and tasked Kirby with drawing sample pages. However, Lee wasn't sold on Kirby's interpretation, deeming it too reminiscent of Captain America with cobwebs, according to Simon. Writer Mark Evanier raises some doubts about Lee's explanation, pointing out that Kirby still illustrated the covers for Amazing Fantasy #15 and the first issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. Evanier also questions Kirby's claim that he was too busy to take on Spider-Man, as Kirby was known for his relentless work ethic. Moreover, neither Lee's nor Kirby's rationale addresses why certain key story elements like the magic ring were discarded. Evanier suggests that the abrupt change may have been influenced by Martin Goodman or one of his associates, who possibly felt that Kirby's version of Spider-Man was too similar to The Fly. The behind-the-scenes drama sheds light on the intricate process of character creation in the comic book industry, showcasing the collaboration and occasional clashes between creative minds striving to bring iconic superheroes to life. According to Blake Bell, a notable Ditko scholar, it was Ditko who pointed out the similarities between Kirby's Spider-Man and the character The Fly. Apparently, Stan Lee contacted Jack Kirby about The Fly, and shortly after informed Ditko that he would be handling the story breakdowns based on Lee's synopsis. This marked a significant turning point where the entire concept underwent a major overhaul. The magic ring and the adult Spider-Man, along with any associated legendary ideas, were scrapped. Lee then presented Ditko with a new premise: a teenager bitten by a spider, gaining superpowers. From this point, Ditko took the reins, expanding the concept to the extent that Blake Bell describes him as the first work for hire artist of his generation to create and control the narrative arc of his series. On the matter of Spider-Man's initial creation, Ditko expressed uncertainty, stating, "I still don't know whose idea was Spider-Man." However, he viewed the published Spider-Man as a distinct creation from what he saw in the 5 penciled pages completed by Kirby. To emphasize this, Ditko drew a parallel with Kirby's Marvel Thor, which drew inspiration from Norse mythology. He questioned why Marvel's Thor, based on a pre-existing idea, is considered a valid creation by Jack Kirby, while Spider-Man, conceived by Stan Lee and himself, is not recognized in the same way. The complexities of creative ownership and collaboration in the comic book world are vividly highlighted in the evolution of Spider-Man's origin story. In a 1971 interview, Jack Kirby gave credit to Steve Ditko for making Spider-Man a success, acknowledging that Ditko got Spider-Man to roll, and the thing caught on because of what he did. Stan Lee, despite claiming credit for the initial idea, recognized Ditko's significant role, stating that if Steve wants to be called co-creator, he believes he deserves it. Lee went on to highlight the importance of Ditko's costume design in the character's success. According to Lee, the fact that Spider-Man's costume fully covers his body made it universally relatable. People of all races could picture themselves inside the costume, fostering a connection with the character. Lee emphasized that Ditko's creative choices played a crucial role in making Spider-Man a character that resonated with a diverse audience. Sally Kempton, writing for The Village Voice in 1965, observed that Spider-Man grapples with a profound identity crisis, an evident inferiority complex, and a fear of women. The character is portrayed as antisocial, burdened with Oedipal guilt, and prone to accidents, essentially a functioning neurotic. Despite his continuous efforts to do what is right, Spider-Man faces suspicion from authorities who struggle to determine whether he is a helpful vigilante or a clever criminal. Cultural historian Bradford W. Wright points out the complex nature of Spider-Man's predicament. In the initial issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson, the publisher of the Daily Bugle, launches a campaign against the Spider-Man menace, resulting in negative publicity that intensifies public suspicions about the mysterious superhero. This campaign makes it difficult for Spider-Man to earn a living through his heroic actions, eventually leading authorities to brand him as an outlaw. Irony prevails as Peter Parker, Spider-Man's alter ego, eventually secures a job as a photographer for Jameson's Daily Bugle. The stories from the mid-1960s reflect the political tensions of the time, with early Marvel stories often addressing Cold War and communist themes. Wright notes that Spider-Man, from his high school days to college life, remained a superhero closely connected to the world of young people. The comic book delves into the politics of young people, with a storyline in 1968 reflecting the student demonstrations at Columbia University. Peter Parker finds himself amidst similar unrest at his Empire State University, navigating his sympathy for the students and his responsibility to combat lawlessness as Spider-Man. As a law-upholding liberal, he becomes entangled between militant leftism and angry conservatives. Peter Parker possesses superhuman spider powers and abilities, a result of mutations triggered by a radioactive spider bite. One of his fundamental capabilities is the ability to cling to walls, often explained by a distance-dependent interaction known as the van der Waals force. In some adaptations, like the 2002 Spider-Man film, his hands and feet are lined with tiny, clinging cilia, resembling a real spider's feet. Spider-Man's power set also includes superhuman strength, agility, balance, and a precognitive sixth sense referred to as his spider sense, which serves as an early warning system for potential dangers. Additionally, Spider-Man exhibits a healing factor, allowing him to recover swiftly from injuries sustained during battles. The aftermath of the 1989 Acts of Vengeance storyline emphasized Spider-Man's superhuman recuperative abilities, accelerating his recovery from exhaustion after defeating the Tri-Sentinel. Originally conceived as intellectually gifted by creators Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, Spider-Man's intellect has been portrayed at genius levels by subsequent writers. Over the years, Peter Parker has honed his skills to the equivalent of martial arts tailored to his unique powers. Academically brilliant, He excels in applied science, chemistry, physics, biology, engineering, mathematics, and mechanics. Utilizing his talents, Peter creates his own costume to conceal his identity. He also designs various devices that complement his powers, notably mechanical web shooters allowing him to shoot webs, swing across the city at high speeds, and navigate while trapping enemies. His inventions include a spider signal, functioning as a flashlight, and a warning beacon for criminals. The uniqueness of the fluid used in Peter's web shooters, created during his high school years, remains a challenge for even world-renowned scientists like Thomas Firehart to replicate. Peter Parker's life is intricately woven with a diverse cast of supporting characters who play pivotal roles in the issues and storylines featuring Spider-Man. Following the loss of his parents, Peter is lovingly raised by his aunt, May Parker, and his uncle, Ben Parker, who serves as a father figure. The bond between Peter and Aunt May deepens after Uncle Ben's tragic murder by a burglar, leaving May as Peter's primary family. J. Jonah Jameson, the publisher of the Daily Bugle and Peter's boss, adds a layer of complexity to Spider-Man's narrative. As a harsh critic of the superhero, Jameson regularly publishes negative articles about Spider-Man. In contrast, Robbie Robertson, Jameson's editor and confidant, consistently supports both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Peter's high school life is marked by the presence of Eugene Flash Thompson, initially a tormentor and bully who idolizes Spider-Man without realizing the hero's true identity as Peter Parker. Over time, their dynamic evolves, and Flash eventually transforms into a friend of Peter. He even adopts his own superhero persona, Agent Venom, after merging with the Venom symbiote. In the midst of Peter's personal journey, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn's son, is a significant figure. While most commonly recognized as Peter's best friend, certain versions portray him as a rival, adding depth to the intricate web of relationships in Spider-Man's world. Throughout the years, writers and artists have crafted a captivating rogues gallery of supervillains for Spider-Man to confront, both in comics and various other media. Much like Spider-Man himself, many of these villains acquire their powers through scientific accidents or the improper use of advanced technology. A common theme among them is the incorporation of animal-themed costumes or powers, creating a fascinating array of adversaries for the iconic superhero. Spider-Man, unlike most superheroes, doesn't have a singular arch-enemy, but is often associated with three main adversaries. Dr. Octopus, Doc Ock, a brilliant mad scientist using mechanical appendages for both movement and combat. Doc Ock is considered Spider-Man's greatest foe, embodying the path Peter Parker might have taken without a sense of responsibility. Infamous for defeating Spider-Man in their initial encounter, he even came close to marrying Peter's Aunt May. At one point, he assumed the alias Master Planner and led the Sinister Six. Later, he was revealed to be in Peter Parker's body for a period. Norman Osborn, Green Goblin. The Norman Osborn version of the Green Goblin is widely regarded as Spider-Man's arch-enemy. Norman, an amoral industrialist, develops a psychopathic alter ego after exposure to unstable chemicals, gaining enhanced strength and agility. The Green Goblin is a Halloween-themed villain with a penchant for using high-tech weapons, including a glider and pumpkin-shaped explosives. Notably, the Goblin doesn't just target Spider-Man, but also aims to cause pain by harming his loved ones. Eddie Brock, Venom. The Eddie Brock incarnation of Venom is often considered Spider-Man's deadliest foe. Initially a reporter who despised Spider-Man, Eddie merges with the Venom symbiote rejected by Spider-Man. This gives him powers similar to Spider-Man and immunity to the web-slingers' spider sense. Venom's primary goal is to disrupt Peter Parker's life and create mental turmoil. Despite being a formidable enemy, Venom later evolves into an anti-hero, protecting innocents and occasionally teaming up with Spider-Man against common threats. Peter Parker's romantic journey encompasses a variety of relationships, from his first crush on high school student Liz Allen to his initial date with Betty Brant, the secretary at the Daily Bugle. Following his breakup with Betty, Peter finds love with Gwen Stacy during his college years. Tragically, both Gwen and her father, Captain George Stacy of the NYPD, meet their demise at the hands of Spider-Man's supervillain adversaries. Mary Jane Watson then emerges as Peter's closest companion, eventually evolving into his wife. Additionally, Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat, transitions from a former cat burglar to Spider-Man's superhuman girlfriend and partner at a certain point in their intertwined stories. In various comic continuities, Peter Parker experiences fatherhood with Mary Jane Watson, giving rise to several biological children. Among them are Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, and Benji Parker from the MC2 universe, as well as Spiderling, Annie Parker from Earth 18,119. The Marvel Universe boasts a multiverse filled with diverse iterations of Spider-Man. Introduced in the 1980s, there's even a fictional anthropomorphic pig parody named Spider-Ham, Peter Porker. Various imprints showcase distinct Spider-Men, including the futuristic Marvel 2099 version known as Miguel O'Hara. In the Marvel Comics 2 imprint, Peter ties the knot with Mary Jane, and their daughter Mayday Parker carries forward Spider-Man's legacy. Meanwhile, Marvel Noir presents a 1930s rendition of Peter Parker. The early 2000s bring forth themed versions like Marvel Mangaverse and the Indian adaptation from Spider-Man India, featuring Pavitur Prabhakar. Ultimate Spider-Man offered a contemporary reimagining of the beloved character Peter Parker. In a surprising twist, this version of Peter Parker eventually met his demise, making way for the introduction of Miles Morales, a Black Hispanic Spider-Man who took up the mantle. In the Spider-Verse storyline, numerous alternate versions of Spider-Man returned, and exciting new ones were introduced. This included a unique world where Gwen Stacy, instead of Peter Parker, receives the bite of a radioactive spider. Additionally, there was a British-themed Spider UK known as Billy Braddock from the Captain Britain Corps. A few months after Spider-Man's debut, Marvel's publisher, Martin Goodman, took a look at the sales figures and was pleasantly surprised to discover that it had become one of the highest-selling comics for the nascent Marvel. This success paved the way for a solo ongoing series, starting with The Amazing Spider-Man #1 in March 1963. The title went on to become Marvel's top-selling series, solidifying Spider-Man's status as a cultural icon. Spider-Man quickly captured the hearts of readers and transcended the comic book world. In a 1965 Esquire poll of college campuses, Spider-Man and the Hulk were ranked alongside influential figures like Bob Dylan and Che Guevara as favorite revolutionary icons. One interviewee even chose Spider-Man because the character faced relatable challenges, woes, money problems, and the existential question. Spider-Man became a symbol of the everyman, someone with whom people could easily identify. Following Steve Ditko's departure after issue number 38 in July 1966, John Romita Sr. took over as the penciler, contributing to the series for several years. In 1968, Romita extended Spider-Man's adventures into the comics magazine The Spectacular Spider-Man, which served as a precursor to graphic novels, appealing to older readers. This marked the beginning of Spider-Man's spin-off publications, aside from the original series' annual releases that began in 1964. The wall crawler was on a trajectory to becoming an enduring and influential figure in pop culture. In the early 1970s, a Spider-Man story played a pivotal role in reshaping the comics code authority. Up until then, the code strictly prohibited the portrayal of illegal drug use, even if depicted in a negative light. However, in 1970, the Nixon administration's Department of Health, Education, and Welfare approached Stan Lee to include an anti-drug message in one of Marvel's best-selling titles. Stan Lee chose The Amazing Spider-Man, a top seller, for this task. The issues number 96-98, published from May to July 1971, featured a storyline that vividly depicted the harmful effects of drug use. In this narrative, Peter Parker's friend Harry Osborn struggles with addiction to pills. The climax of the story occurs when Spider-Man confronts the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Harry's father, and exposes Harry's drug addiction. Despite the story's clear anti-drug message, the Comics Code Authority refused to grant its seal of approval. Undeterred, Marvel went ahead and published the 3 issues without the code's endorsement. Surprisingly, these issues performed exceptionally well in sales, challenging the industry's self-censorship norms. The success of this storyline prompted a revision of the Comics Code, signaling a shift in the way comics could address and tackle social issues, even those as sensitive as drug addiction. In 1972, Marvel expanded Spider-Man's presence with a second ongoing series called Marvel Team Up. This new series paired Spider-Man with various superheroes and supervillains, offering fans a dynamic mix of collaborations. Since then, there have consistently been at least 2 ongoing Spider-Man series running simultaneously. As the Spider-Man universe continued to grow, 1976 saw the introduction of his second solo series, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, running alongside the main series. Later, in 1985, the third series, Web of Spider-Man, was launched, eventually replacing Marvel Team-Up. The momentum didn't stop there. In 1990, a 4th monthly title simply titled Spider-Man made its debut. This adjectiveless series, featuring the storyline Torment, was written and illustrated by the popular artist Todd McFarlane. Notably, it achieved an industry record at the time by selling over 3 million copies, thanks in part to multiple covers with identical content. Spider-Man's expansive presence wasn't limited to solo series. Numerous miniseries, one-shot issues, and loosely related comics have been published over the years. Spider-Man also became a frequent cameo and guest appearance in various other comic book series, further expanding his influence in the Marvel Universe. In 1996, the sensational Spider-Man emerged, replacing Web of Spider-Man and contributing to the ever-growing legacy of the web-slinger. The continued expansion of Spider-Man's comic book universe showcased the enduring popularity and versatility of this iconic character. In 1998, there was a significant shakeup in Spider-Man's world when writer-artist John Byrne decided to revamp the character's origin. This makeover took place in the 13-issue limited series titled Spider-Man, Chapter 1, which ran from December 1998 to October 1999. This move by Byrne, reminiscent of his work on Superman's origin in DC Comics' The Man of Steel, added new details and made some revisions to Spider-Man's beginnings. During this period of change, the original The Amazing Spider-Man series concluded with issue number 441 in November 1998. However, Spider-Man swung back into action with a new beginning when The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 kicked off with issue number 1 in January 1999. Marvel was exploring fresh perspectives on the beloved character's journey. Fast forward to 2003, and Marvel decided to reintroduce the original numbering for The Amazing Spider-Man. What was initially intended to be Volume 2, issue number 59, took a significant leap to become issue number 500 in December 2003. This move added a nostalgic touch, acknowledging the rich history and legacy of Spider-Man's adventures over the years. As the Amazing Spider-Man series progressed, Marvel made some notable changes. By the time it reached issue number 545 in December 2007, Marvel decided to discontinue the spin-off ongoing series, and instead opted to publish The Amazing Spider-Man 3 times a month, starting with issues number 546, 548 in January 2008. This frequent scheduling continued until November 2010, when the comic expanded from 22 to 30 pages per issue. In November 2010, The Amazing Spider-Man transitioned to a bi-monthly publication, with issues number 648-649 marking this shift. Marvel then introduced a new series called Avenging Spider-Man in the following year, making it the first spin-off ongoing series alongside The Amazing Spider-Man since the previous spin-offs were canceled in 2007. The Amazing Spider-Man temporarily concluded with issue number 700 in December 2012. This hiatus paved the way for the Superior Spider-Man, where Dr. Octopus assumed the role of Spider-Man by taking over Peter Parker's body. This daring storyline turned out to be a massive success for Marvel, running for 31 issues. Eventually, in April 2014, The Amazing Spider-Man returned with a fresh start, featuring the real Peter Parker back in action. The series was relaunched with a new issue number 1, bringing a new chapter to Spider-Man's enduring legacy. After the 2015 Secret Wars crossover event, Marvel initiated a wave of changes for Spider-Man-related titles as part of the all-new, all-different Marvel event. In this shift, The Amazing Spider-Man underwent a relaunch, bringing forth a storyline that predominantly centers on Peter Parker managing Parker Industries. In this new narrative, Peter evolves into a successful businessman with a global reach, marking a significant change in his character's trajectory. In the creation of Spider-Man, Paul Kupperberg, a comic book writer, editor, and historian, describes the character's superpowers as nothing too original. What set Spider-Man apart was the portrayal of a nerdy high school student behind the secret identity. This departure from typical superhero tropes introduced heavy doses of soap opera and elements of melodrama. Kupperberg believes that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko achieved something groundbreaking in the comic book world by presenting a flawed superhero dealing with everyday problems. This concept marked a revolution in comics, introducing characters with insecurities and anxieties, a departure from the all-powerful superheroes of the past. Marvel's early 1960s comics, including The Amazing Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, The Fantastic Four, and The X-Men, played a crucial role in altering the public's perception of superheroes. The depiction of a real address in Forest Hills, Queens, New York, as May Parker's residence even led to children sending letters to the superhero. Spider-Man has transcended the realm of comics to become one of the most iconic fictional characters globally. His popularity extends beyond comic books, with appearances in toys, games, cereal, candy, soap, and various other products. Spider-Man has even served as a company mascot and played a significant role in Marvel's historic listing on the New York Stock Exchange in 1991. This milestone was celebrated with the memorable headline, "Spider-Man is coming to Wall Street," featuring Stan Lee accompanied by an actor donning the Spider-Man costume. Since his debut in 1962, Spider-Man comics have sold hundreds of millions of copies worldwide. Spider-Man holds the distinction of being the world's most lucrative superhero, contributing to the success of Marvel. In 2014 alone, global retail sales of licensed Spider-Man products reached a staggering $1.3 billion, surpassing the combined licensing revenue of other iconic superheroes like Batman, Superman, and the Avengers. Spider-Man's enduring popularity and cultural impact make him a powerhouse in the world of entertainment and merchandising. Spider-Man became a beloved presence at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, gracing the event as a balloon float from 1987 to 1998. Designed by the iconic John Romita Sr., a prominent artist associated with the character, the Spider-Man balloon float became a festive highlight. Another rendition of the Spider-Man balloon float delighted spectators from 2009 to 2014, showcasing the enduring appeal of the web-slinger. In the aftermath of the tragic September 11th attacks, Marvel chose The Amazing Spider-Man's December 2001 issue to address the immediate aftermath. This decision reflected Spider-Man's cultural significance, emphasizing his role as a symbol of resilience during challenging times. The character garnered significant media attention in 2006 when Marvel unveiled the revelation of Spider-Man's secret identity. The story's coverage even made its way into the New York Post before the official release of the issue, underscoring Spider-Man's impact beyond the comic book pages. Marvel's innovative approach continued in 2008 as they announced plans to collaborate with the United Nations on educational comics. These comics, set to release the following year, depicted Spider-Man alongside the UN peacekeeping forces to shed light on UN peacekeeping missions. Spider-Man's involvement in such initiatives showcases his versatility as a character with social and educational significance. Notably, a Business Week article recognized Spider-Man among the top 10 most intelligent fictional characters in American comics, highlighting his enduring cultural relevance and appeal. In 2015, the Supreme Court of the United States made a decision in the case of Kimball v. Marvel Entertainment, LLC. This legal matter revolved around royalties linked to a patent for an imitation web shooter. Justice Elena Kagan, delivering the opinion for the court, cleverly infused Spider-Man references into the conclusion. The statement, "With great power, there must also come great responsibility," added a touch of superhero wisdom to a legal context. Spider-Man's influence extends beyond entertainment, making him a subject of scientific inquiry. In 1987, researchers at Loyola University conducted a study examining the utility of Spider-Man comics in addressing issues related to child abuse. This unconventional use of the character highlights Spider-Man's broader impact on societal discussions and educational efforts. Spider-Man has earned numerous accolades, cementing his status as a beloved superhero. In 2005, Bravo's Ultimate Superheroes, Vixens, and Villains TV series crowned Spider-Man as the ultimate superhero. Empire magazine recognized him as the 5th greatest comic book character of all time, while Wizard magazine ranked him 3rd in their list of the greatest comic book characters. IGN's rankings placed Spider-Man 3rd among all comic book heroes in 2011, and later identified him as the greatest Marvel Comics character in 2014. In a 2015 poll conducted by Comic Book Resources, Spider-Man was hailed as the greatest Marvel character of all time. IGN celebrated Spider-Man's relatable qualities, describing him as the common everyman who resonates with normal people despite his unique flaws as a superhero. Acknowledging his tragic backstory, IGN also praised Spider-Man for being one of the most fun and snarky superheroes in existence. Empire magazine commended Spider-Man's enduring sense of humor and clever wisecracks, highlighting his iconic superhero poses as a dream for top artists. Spider-Man's origin story stands as a pinnacle in the realm of superhero narratives, earning acclaim from various quarters. George Marston, writing for Newsarama, dubbed Spider-Man's origin as the greatest of all time. In his view, Spider-Man's origin seamlessly weaves together classic elements of pathos, tragedy, and scientific wonder, forming a perfect concoction for a superhero's origin. Spider-Man's influence extends beyond the realm of fiction, with real-life individuals earning comparisons for their remarkable climbing feats. In 1981, skyscraper safety activist Dan Goodwin, donning a Spider-Man suit, fearlessly ascended iconic structures like the Sears Tower in Chicago, the Renaissance Tower in Dallas, and the John Hancock Center in Chicago. Alan Robert, aptly nicknamed Spider-Man, distinguishes himself as a rock and urban climber, conquering over 70 tall buildings using only his hands and feet, eschewing additional devices. At times, he even sports a Spider-Man suit during his daring climbs. In 2003, he received around $18,000 for scaling the 95-meter Lloyd's building to promote the Spider-Man movie's premiere on the British television channel Sky Movies. Bill Struther, known as the Human Spider, left his mark by scaling the Lamar Building in Augusta, Georgia, in 1921. In Argentina, a daring criminal technique involves climbing buildings and gaining unauthorized access through open balconies, colloquially referred to as the Spider-Man method. Spider-Man's presence transcends the comic book realm, gracing various forms of entertainment such as cartoons, films, video games, coloring books, novels, records, children's books, and even theme park rides. His journey on the small screen began with the ABC animated series Spider-Man and Spidey Super Stories on PBS. The live-action CBS series The Amazing Spider-Man, featuring Nicholas Hammond, further brought the iconic character to life. Diving into the animated realm, Spider-Man enthusiasts enjoyed series like The Syndicated Spider-Man, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Fox Kids Spider-Man, Spider-Man Unlimited Spider-Man, the new animated series, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, Disney XD's Spider-Man, and the ongoing Spidey and His Amazing Friends. Each adaptation brought a unique spin to the web-slingers' adventures, captivating audiences across generations. Spider-Man's global influence extends beyond comics, venturing into unique territories like Japanese tokusatsu television. Toei produced a series titled Spider-Man, captivating audiences with its distinct take on the iconic character. Beyond television, Spider-Man's adventures leaped into other print forms, including novels, children's books, and the daily newspaper comic strip The Amazing Spider-Man. The comic strip, which debuted in January 1977, boasted the creative prowess of Stan Lee and John Romita Sr., bringing the web-slingers' tales to a broader audience. Spider-Man's journey into various media forms didn't stop there. It extended to games, toys, collectibles, and an array of memorabilia, showcasing the character's enduring popularity. Across over 15 gaming platforms, Spider-Man has taken center stage in numerous computer and video games, creating immersive experiences for fans around the world. Spider-Man swung into the cinematic spotlight in a trilogy directed by Sam Raimi, featuring Tobey Maguire as the web-slinging hero. The trilogy, comprising Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3, captivated audiences with its blend of action and storytelling. Initially set for a 2011 sequel, Sony opted for a reboot, resulting in The Amazing Spider-Man. Following The Amazing Spider-Man 2, an exciting collaboration unfolded between Sony and Disney, integrating Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tom Holland stepped into the iconic role, making his debut in Captain America: Civil War. He continued his web-slinging journey with Spider-Man: Homecoming and appearances in Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, Spider-Man: Far From Home, and the multiverse exploration Spider-Man: No Way Home, where Maguire and Garfield made a triumphant return. Spider-Man's animated escapades also shown in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, featuring Jake Johnson as an alternate Spider-Man. The animated journey continued with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Chris Pine lent his voice to another version of Peter Parker in Into the Spider-Verse, contributing to the film's vibrant multiverse narrative. In 2019, a contractual disagreement over financial terms briefly left Spider-Man in limbo, but Sony and Disney ultimately struck a deal. This agreement paved the way for Spider-Man's triumphant return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with both studios collaborating on future Spider-Man films. The Broadway stage witnessed the spectacular arrival of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Starting previews on November 14, 2010 at the Foxwoods Theater, the musical officially opened on June 14, 2011. Featuring music and lyrics by Bono and The Edge of U2, and a book by Julie Taymor, Glenn Berger, and Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, the production became the most expensive musical in Broadway history, boasting an estimated cost of $70 million. Notably, its weekly running expenses reached around $1.2 million. In the realm of fine arts, Spider-Man transcended comic pages and movie screens to become a muse for visual artists. Since the pop art movement of the 1960s, iconic figures like Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, Mel Ramos, Dulcie Pinzon, Mr. Brainwash, and F. Lennox Campello have appropriated the character, integrating Spider-Man into contemporary artwork. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.